Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome to EMT, my name's Emad, and today we're gonna be rebuilding and swapping this K24 into this Honda Civic Coupe. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and attempt to remove the oil pan from the motor. So as you've seen in previous episodes, we've removed the valve cover and the front cover, as well as all the accessories and everything around the motor. Now, if you're doing this in a place where you don't want to get oil all over the place, what you want to do is you actually want to grab the motor. It's on an engine stand, that is. Tilt it forward, kind of like this. Let all the oil go back out this way. Remove the drain plug, which is this guy right here. Once that's out, kind of go ahead and position your drain pan in a way and get all that excess oil out into the drain pan. And the reason we're doing that is simple. We just don't want to make a mess in the house, and my wife too be very angry with me. What we did is we tilted the motor back, pushed the oil on that side of the pan, pulled the drain plug, and then tilted it back forward. And now it's draining into this little oil pan right here. And while we're at it, go ahead and remove the oil filter as well. Pretty empty. No surprise there. That's good enough. We can just call that good enough there. And now we're completely going to be flipping the engine over. There you go. All right. That's the oil pan, ladies and gentlemen. We got one. Well, technically speaking, we had three that went into here, that went into the front cover, but that was removed when we removed the front cover. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 total bolts to remove the oil pan. So let's get to cracking on that. Again, I kind of like to pick my hands up off of the work, so I'm going to use a deep well 10 millimeter, an extension on a 1/4 inch, and minus the 3 bolts that we took off for the valve cover, we're going to go ahead and start going for it. Bag them and tag them. The reason we're bagging them and tagging them and not leaving them in the actual block itself is because this whole mating surface right here is going to need to be cleaned and then resealed. And we can't do that with the blocks in it or the bolts in it, or it's just going to be really difficult to try to run, whatever, like a razor blade or whatever it is to try to clean that surface, that mating surface off. Another thing, ladies and gentlemen, is there's actually a nut here and a nut on the other side holding this. The rest are bolts except for this one, and then one more on the back that is a nut. So there's 2 nuts in total. Alright y'all, so this stud right here, it looks pretty rusted on there, so I'm going to anticipate and say this is actually going to pull the stud out of the cylinder head while I undo it. If that happens, it literally just threads right back in and just treat it as a normal bolt. It's not the end of the world, guys, so let's see if that happens here. So happened exactly what I was going to think. It actually pulled the stud out, as you can see, because of so much rust on it. I'm just gonna treat this kind of like a bolt and just ring it in like a bolt. It's not an issue for me. Just kind of remember ish where it went, I guess. I don't even think it really matters, but hey, it's up to y'all. All right, y'all, and again, this guy is sealed on there with Honda Bond, so it's gonna be a kind of a little bit of a chore to try to pry it off, but it is doable. This is the moment of truth, whether we find out if this motor is worth it or are we gonna get a new one. Don't be too aggressive with it. Just kind of baby it and it'll come out. It broke loose, y'all. Finally. There we go. And it's out. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of metal shavings in there, as y'all can see. And well, here's the culprit. It's actually the thrust washer. Thrust washer came out and looks like it was kind of pummeled in there, you know, understandably. So fingers crossed, and that's all that's wrong with it. So yeah, look at this. That's crazy. That is crazy. All right, well, okay, y'all. So we're gonna remove the timing chain, guide. Pretty much all of that stuff's gonna come off. Now let's go ahead and start by pulling off this little crankshaft timing ring. That's gonna be removed, and that's gonna be bagged and tagged. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start by getting tension off of the chain, and that's gonna be done by removing the tensioner. There's a little trick when removing these guys. Very simple. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna loosen these two 10mm bolts. Just loosen them, and then you're going to slide this guy up. Once you do that, that's gonna be pulled. Two 10mm bolts. Remember, all we're doing is we're just gonna be just loosen this one and then remove this one. There you go. Now push this guy down. Now there is no more tension on the system, guys. And with that, go ahead and remove the second bolt. There you go. Both bolts are the same. Now, I personally wouldn't recommend reusing reusing a tensioner. If you can, you reuse it. I wouldn't recommend you reusing it, guys. Just get a new one. I don't recommend you reusing anything ever in the timing assembly unless you're 100% certain that it's good parts. For this one, again, I believe this motor has over 300,000 miles on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be replacing everything with OE Honda parts. Is probably the most important thing. I'm not going to keep this budget. One more thing, guys. Since we're tearing into this motor and we're removing the pistons and the crank and the cams and all heads and all this stuff, you really don't need to set the engine to top dead center before removing any of the timing components. But once you do relieve tension from here, guys, do not turn the crankshaft anymore. If your motor's for some reason still in the car and you're doing something like this, replacing a tensioner or whatever it may be, do not turn the crankshaft. Make sure you do not turn the crankshaft. That can cause damage to your head. That can bend valves and just cause catastrophic engine failure. So just once this is loosened, that's it. Do not touch the crank unless you make sure that it's 100% timed correctly again. All right, let's keep going, y'all. We're gonna be removing all of the guides. Top guide, I think it's called the motion guide or whatever it is. It just moves. This is the stationary guide. This guide doesn't move at all. This thing moves. This one really doesn't move either. It's just kind of like a stationary top guide, but that's called the top guide. I think that's called the motion guide. I could be wrong. And then this is called the stationary guide. So let's go ahead and get all these guides off. I'm gonna go ahead and start from the top. All right, so deep well 12 and a 3/8 should pop this top guide off. There we go. That had some torque on it, but understandable. So did that one. All right, that's out. And that guy's out, and the top guide comes out. Yeah, let's keep going. Let's go ahead and pop this guide right here off and the stationary guide off. All right, now guys, using a size 6 Allen key, I went ahead and put this guy in there. God damn. Gave it a little love tap. And easy enough, this is out. I'm gonna go ahead and actually keep this bolt in here so I don't lose it. There you go, that's that guy. Surprisingly, the guides actually look really good. I would have thought that they'd be way more worn than this, but that's not the case. Doesn't change the fact that I'm gonna be getting new ones for it, but it's just good to know that these engines hold up like this. Using a 10mm, we're gonna pop these 3 bolts off. I use the 3/8 because it gives me a little bit more leverage. They are torqued on there a little bit more than normal. Okay. There you go. And that's out. I'm going to go ahead and also be placing these bolts back into where they came from. And with all that said, go ahead and take the chain off. It is going to be replaced. You know, if you like this video, hey, like, comment, subscribe. It helps me bring you guys better content. If you feel like I did anything wrong or have any tips or tricks for me, remember, I'm not a professional, put them out in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys about everything. All right, peace.